Welcome back to episode 14 of Electrified Marina podcast. I'm your host and producer, Brooks Lawson.
And Eric Pinzon from Electrified Marina.
Today, Monday, October 20th, and our guest today is Ben Sorkin from Flux Marine. Ben, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Happy to be here, guys.
This show is brought to you by us at Electrified Marina. Please check out electrifiedmarina.com/Brooks and call or email us if you decide you have any interest in buying a new electric boat or repowering your current boat with an electric powertrain. Best way to interact with the show is to post comments in the comment section on YouTube. Eric, do you want to kick us off with some announcements?
Yeah, man. I think we've going on like a month without a podcast now. We rescheduled a couple times. I don't know if we've done one since I got back from France, Monaco. The Taiga unveiling there was pretty epic. Vehicle to grid for their new ski coming. They've got a longer seat, longer platform on the back, some nice little amenities on the thing, mirrors, speakers, a lot of little customer features that they've been requesting. Saw the Milliken M10 while I was there. Super exciting boat. We've got a bunch of leads for it already. Might be going to St. Martin here in a couple months to go check that thing out, and hopefully a couple deliveries here next year. Since then, heck, we've had the Lake Anna event that we did 3 weeks ago now. That went amazing. Got kind of half rained out, but we still got probably 40 people out on some boat rides. Already sold one boat from it. We're going to sell quite a few more come springtime. And then actually that was the first time seeing the flagship pontoon there, which was awesome. So that was a Flux powered tri-tune, and it's the littlest thing, but all the batteries were encased in the center tune, the center log, and it was amazing because it didn't consume any deck storage. It just like the fit and finish of the package was impeccable. But I wouldn't be surprised if it was our number one seller next year. Just pontoons in general are number one seller in boats in the US. And then we had Annapolis, which was amazing. Had some hiccups there with electrical and dock layout and everything, but as soon as we got everything in place, it went great. Had like 250 people out on boats or so. Got quite a few leads. We'll probably sell 3 or 4 boats from the event and probably 2 or 3 jet skis. But again, it was just raising awareness of how many people don't know this stuff exists. And I mean, we're on a busy part of the dock and on the demo dock, and people walk right up and they see the Scout and with a Zero Jet OC tender, and then some skis, and then the Valar boat that was there. And whichever way they were coming, they walk over and they're like, "Oh wait, is that electric?" And it's yeah, every one of these are, and you just see them in shock. And like these are boat people, and it just shows how far we have to go in terms of awareness side of things, man. So it was a really good event. Super excited about it and what it's going to bring in the future. What else? Got a couple deposits for the Valar boats. Super excited for those guys. They've got a sweet catamaran that with a foil assist, and it's as popular as I thought it would be. And what else? We have other announcements. Fort Lauderdale's coming up next week. That's pretty exciting. Going to be down there meeting with everybody. Schedule's getting pretty booked with boat rides and shaking hands and kissing babies, but that'll be a good event. I think that's it. I'm sure I'm missing something. It's been a whirlwind, man. We're raising some capital right now, pitching to some people, and dealing with sales and last minute, end of year sales and prepping for next year. And it's controlled chaos right now. It's all good problems to have. It's just busier than ever.
Awesome. Well, Ben, thanks again for joining us. Do you want to start us off talking a little about yourself and your background and how you got started?
Absolutely. And again, pleasure to be on the show. Eric, great to hear about the updates. I think you also hit the nail on the head there. It's people don't know. They don't know that this exists, that it's not just trolling motors anymore. So again, the value in going to these boat shows and just getting people on boats is impeccable. So yeah, my background, I'm come from a very fortunate position of being a passionate boater my entire life, having grown
All
up
right,
in
rub it
upstate.
in.
Yeah. Well, not that kind of boater. I was rebuilding 13-foot Boston Whalers and rebuilding old antique engines so I could get on the water with my buddies.
Oh, that's cool.
Spent every summer in upstate New York on Lake George, where literally rebuilt an engine every way you could imagine. Everything from a 1946 Evinrude Ranger, which was a 1.1 horsepower single cylinder outboard, to a 1962 Merc 1000 inline 600 horsepower Merc outboard, to modern day Tohatsus. So literally you've seen every way a gas engine can work or not work. At the same time, I was always fascinated by electrification. Started studying batteries in school, studied mechanical and aerospace engineering at Princeton. Much to the chagrin of my parents, I skipped a lot of class to sit in on grad school battery classes, work in a battery lab, and eventually graduate. But while I was at school, I helped start an electric race car team. Again, spent a summer working in a battery lab, spent a summer at Tesla, and while at school, started experimenting with electric boats. I think at the time it was like 2016. Pulled together an electric hydroplane, did a little over 50 miles an hour, which actually was probably one of the fastest electric boats in the world at the time. There was a gentleman a couple years prior to that who did a hydroplane with a bunch of small lipo batteries that broke the 100-mile-an-hour barrier. But yeah, so it's been a lot.
Really quick plug. It's funny you're talking about that. We're gonna have the Princeton racing team on here in I think a week or two. Is that powered by a Flux motor?
Yeah, so they've got a Flux motor, Flux battery pack, but it's the passion and prowess of the Princeton kids that got that across the finish line. To see those, they worked on that boat in our office in Rhode Island. We basically gave them carte blanche. They had access to every engineer they wanted to have access to. We
Shit.
most of it, and these kids are just like day in and day out. It was absolutely incredible. So I don't want to spoil more,
Yeah, we'll
but
leave it at that.
it's going to be an incredible episode. What those kids, a group of kids, accomplished more than any other company in the space, my company included. So hats off to those kids. That'll be a good episode. And that stemmed too from the days where I was building electric hydroplanes. Because when they did get started, one of the professors had reached back out to Ben Sorkin. He tried this, and now it's a company. So the theme happens of just continually building electric marine propulsion systems and tech. I lived out in Hawaii for a few years, working for a marine defense engineering firm, designing drivetrains for hybrid and amphibious vehicles, all still working Flux Marine at night. And ultimately, after 5 years of bootstrapping, went full time with Flux Marine in 2020.
So really quick, you kind of skipped over it. When did this become like concept versus like having like hands on with stuff? Was that in college or is that in
Yeah,
Hawaii? Like,
yeah. So I think looking at the timeline, and maybe this is where it brings into like who Flux Marine is and what our approach has always been. So from 2015 was the summer of inception. Old Merc, retrofitted with a little electric motor, 10 horsepower, took it around, showed people. Everyone's like, wow, is this for sale? And that was that point, that was the first spark where, the industry needs something new. So then from 2015 to 2020 were the bootstrap years. So working off non-dilutive pitch competition grants, taking salaries from full-time jobs that we were working, putting it into prototyping, but it was hands-on figuring out the technologies. And from the get-go, having grown up around boats, we knew we had to take a very, very deliberate approach to electrification. And if you look at the marine industry, it's not like automotive. There are over 3,000 companies that build boats. And so we immediately knew, while I have a lot of respect for the companies building fully electric boats, I did not want to be a boat builder. I wanted to work with boat builders. I wanted to enable boat builders to electrify. And so from the get go, it was, we're going to be a propulsion company. And then the question becomes, what kind of propulsion company? You have outboards, stern drives or IOs, pod drives, and straight shafts inboards. And if you look at the market, it's never been more clear that outboards are the predominant propulsion solution in this sector. I mean, more than 90% of new boats are sold with outboards. There are a lot of reasons why. It's everything from being able to trim an outboard drastically improves performance. If you want to go to the sandbar or go through shallow area, getting it up out of the water, avoiding corrosion, getting it up out of the water, and then also in working with boat manufacturers, it's so much easier to install an outboard than to install a big engine inside a boat. And again, we have to remind ourselves, boats, they're not mass market. Like a single boat design, the company's not making 10,000 of the same boat. They're making dozens, maybe a couple hundred of a variation of a boat. And then you have so many different boat models within a company and then so many different manufacturers. So you want to make it easy for the manufacturer. So we were set on outboards. And then the next question was, well, what technology stack do we go forward with? The fastest way to market would be to take a gas engine like a Tohatsu or a Yamaha and gut the combustion components, put in an electric motor, and put it in the market. And that works. And there are companies who I think have done that successfully. The issue for me is you still retain a lot of the vestigial issues that gas engines have. You're pulling in seawater through an impeller that needs maintenance. And then you're supposed to, if you're in saltwater, you are supposed to, every time you're done using the boat, flush your cooling system with fresh water. Imagine if you were in a car and someone said, every time you stop using your car and put it away, I need you to plug a hose into it. Turn the hose on, let it run through your car for a few minutes, and turn the hose back off. This is a reality in boating. And so I said, well, we don't want to do that. And then we also thought about, how do we do the drivetrain? How do we connect the electric motor to the propeller? And you've seen a lot of companies in the electric space, like Torqeedo and ePropulsion, very successfully go with a pod drive route, where they take the electric motor, they put it underwater in line with the propeller. So you drastically reduce gear train losses, usually just a planetary gearbox, sometimes even direct drive. And that works at low horsepower. Once you get to larger horsepower, 30, 40, 50, 100, the size of that bullet would have to increase so much that on a planing boat, it would require 30 or 40 horsepower just to move the lower unit through water at speed. So we knew that pod drives for high speed boats was not scalable. And so we really thought about drivetrain, and we landed at a spot where we actually use a belt drive, a carbon based belt drive. So you have the electric motor on top, you've got your lower unit, and a belt that comes down. And this belt drive, we've seen a lot of belt advancements in the last really decade, and the last couple of years even more. So we designed a very, very unique drive that allows that belt to run for over 1,400 hours at wide open throttle. Meaning, for regular continuous average use, that's between 5,000 and 10,000 hours of use before maintenance. And that's been tested.
And it's funny, man, because I've posted a couple reels of the design of the motor, and everyone loses their mind. But it's also not something that's brand new. Like, I've got our Harley Livewire. I beat the hell out of that thing every single time I take it out, and I'm just waiting for the belt to snap, and it hasn't. And it's 5 years old now. I beat the hell out of that thing.
Exactly.
And that is instant torque. I'm pretty sure the torque is limited a bit more on the outboard motor than it is my bike, because it just absolutely launches. But they've been doing industrial equipment. I mean, so many applications with belts, and people just can't wrap their head around it that you guys have this solved. It's hilarious every time people lose it in the comments.
Yeah, it's amazing how far it's come along. And when we first started exploring it, we were skeptical too. We were like, could this work? And we broke dozens of belts, dozens and dozens. But we have test rigs at the office. We have 2 electric motors, and you saw this, Eric, back to back at the prop shaft, running as a dyno with belts. And this allows us to iterate through different types of drivetrain configurations. Everything from like belt tension to sprocket roughness. There's so many small things that make a big difference. And so it's like, we can literally tell how the efficiency changes based on like different pounds of tension as you pull the belt apart. And so we've tested all these things, and the end result is something. It's a belt drive. We've clocked it at 97.5% efficiency going from top to bottom.
What's a
Okay.
conventional outboard here for us that don't know?
About 86%.
Dude,
And
that's huge.
I've seen companies work with McLaren Engineering and report about anywhere from 85 to 88% efficiency of a lower unit. And we're clocking 97.5% efficiency, which
Best in industry?
I believe so. I do not believe anyone's been close to that. And what that means is longer range. That means more efficient from electric motor to prop. It means less battery, or it means more battery and more range. So it's these small things. And by doing this entire ground up design, all of a sudden you have a more efficient belt drive. You have more efficient hydrodynamics in a lower unit. You have a completely closed loop cooling system. You own the entire outboard, so it's a lot lighter than a gas outboard. We're about just over 300 pounds versus any of the other electric or a Yamaha 150. These are weighing in closer to 500 pounds. And then one of the other really cool things, because again, we focus on building our own architecture. So when you go to charge a Flux Marine outboard, you don't have to work with a manufacturer to put an onboard charger somewhere in the boat. We have all the charging infrastructure built into the outboard, including DC fast charge capabilities. And so
It's
it's
all
just
on the top with the power head?
it's all on the top. So you can leverage the cooling system of the outboard. You can leverage the wiring in the outboard. And then when it comes to actual installation, it's just another thing that you don't have to install as a boat manufacturer. And we're the only company who's done this And it's been incredibly difficult. And we've spent half a decade perfecting it and tens of millions of dollars. But the end result is just, the end result is a ground up approach that, for one, makes me as a user really love the product. And it makes boat builders, it just makes their life so much easier in integrating and opening the door for them to go electric. You're not building a boat around our system. Scout boats, boat comes down the line, they say gas or electric, and that's it. Highfield, gas or electric. That's it. Flagship, gas or electric. That's it. It's not a new boat. And that's what I think unlocks the market and also allows the consumer more choices, because you can go and find your favorite boat and say, can we make this electric? And because we built our battery packs from the ground up that are modular, smaller, and more energy dense than anything else on the market, we're able to work with the vast majority of boat manufacturers and ensure that every customer can get what they want.
That's huge, man. It's funny. I posted one video when I opened the back of the Dorado and just showing the inside, and it's like, hey, there's the batteries, here's distribution box, and some breakers. And there's a guy that reached out to me. He was an electrical engineer. I won't say his name, but he's like, "Hey, man, I'm an electrical engineer. Don't BS me. Like, where's the rest of it?" It's like, "It's in the outboard." He's like, "No, no, no, like the rest of it." And I was like, "Dude, like this control module, this control unit right here. You guys call it a power distribution module?"
PDU, exactly.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like the 3 battery connections and then 1 to the outboard. And I was like, no, this is really it, man. Like I've seen the rest of the boat. And he's like, dude, this is absurd. And he's gonna come check out a boat, hopefully in Fort Lauderdale. But it really is crazy to think about when you look at an engine compartment, whether it's another electric boat or a gas boat, with how many components are there. And it's not just the number of components. For me, like from the technical side, it's points of failure. It is QC. It is, I mean, there's so much to it in terms of components that could fail later on, whether it's a connection or corrosion or, there's so much to it. And that simplistic approach to it, it just minimizes everything going forward. And it's funny because I've been chatting with more and more dealerships, like conventional dealerships lately, and they're kind of turned off by that side of it because they're not going to be replacing a ton of components. There's not a lot of wearing components. There's some boats out there that have seawater pumps and cooling pumps and everything else. And you guys you have to have at least a cooling pump in the outboard, right? But it's like closed loop ethylene glycol.
Closed loop ethylene glycol. I've had one running in the shop for the last 4 years.
Right, like very very low chance of failure there. And like I
No,
mean I
no
and
no
that
debris, nothing can get in there. That pump should, if you have to replace that pump, I personally guarantee I'll put a whole new outboard on the boat.
it's huge, man. And so like serviceability, like everything, that approach to it is kind of unique in that. And it's very intrigued to see how it lasts in the long run. Because like right now, you guys have stuff on the test bench, you've got customers out there running stuff, and you've got a decent, amount of data collection from your guys' fleet. I've seen some screenshots that you've showed us some crazy trips people have taken on some of your boats, and you've got work boats now that are running at an exponential, like just a super high amount compared to a recreational boat. So the data you're collecting is huge. So it's in terms of reliability and serviceability of it. I can't wait to see what that looks like at the 5 or the 10-year mark. In terms of that compared to a conventional gas boat. It's going to be huge, man.
Yeah, there's so much data, and then even in terms of testing. So I personally am probably our biggest guinea pig. So my girlfriend and I bought a boat last year, and I take that boat to work almost every day. 10
Not a
nautical
bad
miles.
daily driver.
Oh no, it beats bridge traffic. 10 nautical miles across the bay, 10 nautical miles back, and we tuned mine up as well. We tuned
Just to
mine up
like push it to the max.
significantly to push it to the max, and we use and abuse that boat. I went out last weekend, gale force winds. I had my EPIRB, my emergency safety jacket, and I'm launching off 8-9 foot waves, and the boat's just slamming and slamming and slamming. But someone's got to do it.
And you got no content, man. I didn't see a single video. Like that stuff would be gold.
I have one video, but the phone was soaked, so you couldn't see anything. I've got the G-force data. The G-force data tells a lot there.
Way cool.
But yeah, nothing beats getting out there. And I think that even goes back to our original story of when we launched. So 2020 is when the team went full time. 2020 to 2022 was a lot of like hardcore prototyping, full time building the team. And then from 2022 to 2024, we had a couple dozen systems in the hands of customers. And this was our validation fleet. This was
You said
not
couple dozen?
couple dozen.
Wow.
And
Okay.
these were like, we gave our customers, were paying full deposits, and we said, you don't own this system, you own a production system, you'll get it in 2 years. This is the system you use for now. Be part of our beta testing, give us feedback, use and abuse this system. I know it's not perfect. I know it's going in salt water. We're going to learn how you use it. We're going to learn what the environment does to it. And those 2 years of, not being worried about like, oh, we need to like buy this back or give them a refund was incredible. It was just like, beat it and let's learn from it. And the things we built out over those 2 years, I mean, we built out an incredible cellular connected cloud infrastructure dashboard where we could see every data point from every boat all the time. And that solved so many questions. We got a call. It's not charging. I pull up the dashboard. It's plugged in at the boat, but it's not plugged in at the outlet. It's not. Oh, I didn't realize that. And then, we learn if that's this case, let's make sure our UI shows that specifically. We
Yeah.
had situations where it's not charging because it was on a 200-foot extension cord and the voltage was too low. So like 4 years ago or 3 years ago, we said, let's make sure we're transmitting AC voltage in. And so it was these little IoT things. So we had everything from people hitting logs at rental fleets to we even had one customer whose boat sank. And I called the customer and I said, hey, I'm seeing some pretty odd data. Is everything okay? And we were talking about it. His kids were out on the boat, and we were able to very quickly confirm cell temps are good. Isolation is okay. Just have them hammer throttle until they can get back to the dock. The boat's filling up with water. I said, it's still safe. We're looking at the data. They got back to the dock. The boat fully sank at the dock.
And
And
so
we
it
learned a
like
lot.
forgot a drain plug or like hit something or what?
Hit a rock.
Ugh.
Hit an
Wow.
uncharted rock hole in the boat.
And so what, like for the technical guys out there, what data values were you looking at? Could you see isolation values or some kind of
Exactly.
water? Okay.
Isolation values. So when you think about safety and high voltage electrification, for one, systems got to be waterproof. For two, you need to know when you have your high voltage system, your 400, your 600, your 800, and then you have your 12-volt system. So like when you hit the radio, you're touching your 12-volt system. We want to make sure that that's totally isolated from the high voltage. And so we have our own battery management system, actually, that an isolation monitoring device that is always looking at the two and reporting back data for what the isolation values are. And then we have the cell temps and the cell voltages. So between the cell temps, cell voltages, cell spreads, and isolation, we were able to stay in touch with the customer and say, just keep hammering it until you get home.
Look safe. Yeah, don't need to abandon ship yet.
Look safe. And then now he's loving his brand new Scout Center console.
That's awesome, man. And that's what's crazy because there's so many of those. Most people are completely oblivious about just whether it's isolation or high voltage systems in general. And everyone relates it like, oh, electricity and water don't mix. Like, yeah, it doesn't here either. There's a lot of systems in place that monitor that, whether it's an HVIL circuit, isolation, like pre-charge circuits, like there's so much there. And it's funny because I literally an hour before this, there's a guy, I posted a video of the flux system in the bilge of the Tritune. And there's some water at the back. Like, yeah, it's open, exposed back there. That's why there's a bilge pump. And he's like, oh, yeah, it's going to go up in flames. And then I asked him, I was like, do you really think not a single person has thought about this? Like, not one? Like, this didn't make it into production with idiots here at the helm. Like, that's not how this works.
We got 50 smart people thinking about that in a big building.
I always tell people, thankfully, there's people that are a lot smarter than both of us that have worked on this. It's going to be okay. Or I take it the other way and they comment dumb stuff like that. And I'm like, well, that's a, couple people a week, we're going to catch up to gas boats here soon. Like they explode all the damn time.
Exactly.
And like, it's crazy because they just chalk that up to user error. It's like, oh, forgot a blower. Yep, that happens. A couple people died.
It's terrifying. So
yeah, electric boats would be illegal if they killed even a handful of people this year. Like it's absurd. Anyway,
technology.
Yeah. So in terms of your guys' powertrain, so you've got a belt that runs down stanchions. What do you call them? Like columns down the sides?
Yeah,
struts.
So we call it the dual strut lower unit.
Okay, and so you've got like a cog or like a gear down there.
Exactly.
Okay, so power head at the top, but in the top you've also got high voltage distribution box, an onboard charger, a charge port.
Yeah, so we've got the charge port, the DC fast charge contactors, your electric vehicle charge controller, your inverter, your motor, your low voltage power distribution board, and then you've got your electric pump.
And so inside the boat, it's just the PDU, and all that does is combine the high voltage connections from the batteries and send it all to the motor.
Does that, houses a couple, the master battery management system. It also provides 2 leads out to a 12-volt system.
Oh, makes
So
sense.
that way you can keep your 12-volt battery charged. Um, yeah, there's not much going on. That box is just super clean.
Well, it's crazy you can you can accomplish all of that in the outboard, and it's still 300 pounds. Because like when I talk to like outboard mechanics, like marine mechanics, and I mention the weight of the motor, they're like, "Whoa, okay, that's impressive." And I have to remind them, it's like, "Hey, there's still 1,000 pounds of batteries there that get
Right,
attached to
right,
this."
right.
And they're like, "No, no, no. Either way, your power to weight ratio of the outboard is damn impressive."
Yeah,
Um,
especially considering all the charging infrastructure. And like if we drop the charge infrastructure out of that, that outboard gets even lighter.
right, right. And so with that, you've got AC charging on there. What's the peak on that? 7, 8 kilowatts or something? Is it
So
10?
right now, right around 7 kilowatts
Okay, very cool.
peak
And
AC.
yeah, and DC fast charging, what speeds?
Yeah, DC we usually do C over 2. So that means if you have an 84 kilowatt hour battery, you can charge at about half that rate, so about 42 kilowatts.
Got it. Got it. Very cool, man. And I guess that changes based on bigger boats. So
Yes,
I saw my first dual outboard flux powered boat, the high foil, which was super freaking cool. It was a 32 footer, and it had, was it 4 or 5 modules on it? How many batteries were on that thing?
6 28 kilowatt hour modules, twin 115 horsepower outboards, and then our PDUs, and then a CDU. Our CDU is what we call a charge distribution unit.
Okay.
And, when we talk about the beta testing time, this particular customer, this owner, has been testing twins with us for the last 3 years. So
Nice.
we've been like really, anytime we do something at Flux Marine, like we test the hell out of it to make sure it works before we roll it out. And this was the first real twin boat, and it's been upgraded with the production units. But what the CDU allows is, because you've got the charging on the outboards and you have 2 plugs, you don't want them to be totally separate systems. You want them to be able to operate as separate systems for redundancy, but you want the battery packs to be able to, one, connect and charge each other. And then if you're DC fast charging, plug one DC fast charge into one outboard, that the charge distribution will then put that to both battery packs. Now you can also do a DC fast charge on one outboard and a level 2 AC on the other outboard. The charge distribution unit takes care of that. You could do one 240-volt AC and one 110-volt AC. Charge distribution takes care of that.
So
If you're out,
literally, like whatever power is available,
whatever, it
you can
just puts it,
capitalize on it.
distributes it. And then what that also means is, once you're out on the boat, if you're doing donuts per se and really cranking one motor, it'll then funnel electricity back to the others. So it keeps them, again, it keeps them connected with the
Huh.
ability to separate them for redundancy.
So God forbid you have a catastrophic failure, ripped a prop off on one motor, you can fully utilize the other one and the remaining 6 batteries for that one motor.
Exactly. You could hit something so catastrophic, an outboard gets, if you pulled the outboard off the boat, you could still be running with the other outboard and get all 6 batteries to that.
That's crazy, man. That is so cool. And all of this with no active cooling of the batteries, right? That's what kind of baffles me.
Yeah, and I think that's a big topic. I think when you ask a lot of companies in the electrification space, what is your biggest technical challenge? Thermal management comes top of mind. And the reason that's a big challenge most generally is because a lot of companies take technology directly from automotive and put it in boats.
Right.
And so what's the issue with that? The issue is, Eric, when you're in your Rivian and you slam the pedal, you've got 835 horsepower on tap. When you're just cruising along the highway by yourself with nothing in tow, you're only using 30 or 40 horsepower. And so most EV systems are designed for that. The batteries are designed for high peak power, low continuous. The motors, same thing. The inverters, same thing. When you're in a boat, you're moving water, which is 1,000 times denser than air. So you need continuous power all of the time. So if you took Tesla battery cells and dropped them in a boat and did a 1C continuous discharge, they're going to overheat. Same thing with the motor, same thing with the inverter. And if you're overheating, what that really means is you're taking, electrical potential energy and you're turning that into heat, and you're not turning it into propulsion.
Like a
And
gas
so,
engine.
yeah, exactly. A lot, in a very similar sense. So when we were thinking about it, there are a lot of types of battery cells and battery chemistries, and I spent a lot of time playing with chemistries in a battery lab. And so there are cell chemistries out there that are much better suited for high continuous discharge with low internal resistance, meaning you can do a 1C, 1.2, 1.3C continuous discharge, and you're only going to see, a 10 to 15 degree temperature rise, and you're still well within the operating bounds of the battery. So now you're not generating that much heat. You eliminate the need for complex cooling. And then I think one of the biggest questions of that becomes, well, what about cycle life? Cells, it is true that cells are last the longest if you can keep them kind of like a constant 25 degrees C. It's better for the longevity of the cells. But when we're talking about longevity of the cells in a boat versus a different type of application, I'm seeing 30 or 40 cycles a season from our super users. I mean,
Wow.
boats that are running every single day are running
30
really,
to 40, but like average is probably 10, 15.
yeah, it's like 15, 20 is the average
God.
cycle.
So
Because
even if
most,
it got reduced to a tenth of, call it a few thousand cycles, it's
yeah,
not a big deal. It's still going to last a couple decades.
exactly. And, even the impact of not super regulating the cell temps, if you're working with cells like ours that still stay fairly reasonable, maybe you're not going to get 2,500 cycles. Maybe you'll get 2,000 cycles.
And what's the calendar life of those cells?
You're talking 10 years plus. 10 years plus. And my other thing I think about with that is even on my own boat, if 10 years from now my battery cells are starting to not do so well, 10 years from now I'm going to want to spend money on the newest battery cells. That's going to double my range at probably cheaper than what I paid for this now. So I'm okay with that. I am more than okay with that.
I used to break that down for Tesla owners, and battery life was like our number one, or not number one complaint, but number one concern when people would schedule appointments. And now they have it to where it's in the app, and you can analyze the state of health of the battery. But before that, we were doing it manually and dumping and extracting ridiculous amounts of data from this battery pack. And you could look at the Uber driver that supercharges twice a day, and then the owner that has never, literally never used a fast charger, never 100% charged, and never went below 20%. And the difference is peanuts. And it's like, guys, we're splitting hairs here. Like, this is not an issue. Like, use it however the hell you want. And I started telling this, and it wasn't the Tesla way, but I told people it's like redlining your gas engine. Are you ever worried about that? Like, no, you might notice it 10, 15 years from now, but in your ownership life, who cares? Like, just run it, man. And that's what I do to my own vehicles. Like, whoever buys my next vehicle or buys my vehicle secondhand, I abuse the hell out of it. My Ford Lightning 100% charges every single day. I floor it from every stoplight, and I don't hesitate to fast charge whenever the hell I need, because I didn't buy this thing to get inconvenienced by it. Like, I'll be damned, So it's really splitting hairs here, and that what you're saying reinforces that. It's like, oh no, it brought the life cycle from 25 years to 15 years. It's like, oh no. And like, if you needed to buy batteries, and just if tech just continues in this slow linear curve without a huge breakthrough, like they're still going to be a fraction of the cost of what they are now. Like, you would
It's
have
four
rebuilt
to
an
se-
outboard already.
yeah, 4% to 7% per year increase in
Right.
energy density, 4% to 7% decrease in cost.
Yeah. Huge, man. That's huge. And so, I mean, do you guys have like some kind of special chemistry, NMC? Like, is it anything crazy or?
I wouldn't say we have anything crazy. I'd say, a lot of Flux Marine from the get go has not been about reinventing anything or rocket science. It's been about truly, truly deeply understanding the use case and then having a really intimate knowledge of technology and marrying those things correctly from the get go.
Hold on.
And so
You kind of reinvented the outboard.
we may have reinvented the outboard, but we didn't break any physics in the process.
You're
We
right.
the most proven things that exist and just pulled them together in a really, really elegant way. That took a
Touche.
long time, but the end result, and that's what happens when you stack a lot of really elegant, intelligent engineering decisions, you end up with a product that is incredibly different.
Yeah, well said, man. Well said. I'm curious, man. In terms of your customers that are out there, you mentioned some of the high users. Do you have any of these? Oh, I guess we're another plug. We're gonna have Matt O'Hara on, who's had this in his boat club up at Lake George. He'll be on here in a week or two. But other than him, in terms of high users, is there like you have like a work boat in Maine? I think it is.
Yeah, we have a couple of work boats out there.
And
Quite a
getting used
few.
every day. It's not like this like beautiful, pat on the back and this boat never gets used museum piece. Like these are out there every day getting used.
We have a couple of those too.
Nice.
Yeah, so a lot of these boats, do get used. I don't want to say every day, but they get used many times a week.
Nice.
Some of the mileage I'm seeing on these boats, some of the usage, and again, like I get a notification on my home screen because I'm so in tune with what the customer is doing. I want to know everything. So I get notifications every time there's a customer trip. We've had to turn that down recently because there was a customer ding ding ding. But these boats are, also they're running 20, 30 miles. They're running 22 miles, 24 miles. They're running at high speed. They're going at low speed. They're out for 8 hours a day. I see pictures of these things like hooked up to barges, moving barges that have tractors on them. And I'm like, that's an incredible photo. And they're going all through winter as well. And so like we see them in winter. We have boats that are on like harbor patrol. Those boats are just like slowly going up and down all day. And it's like, again, you look at the hours on that. We have one boat that's a harbor patrol boat that's been out, 30 or 40 times. And it's at maybe 2 cycles of battery.
Because
Like
it's like low speed all the time.
it's low speed all the time, and like it definitely gets opened up a few times, but the way that boat's used, it just doesn't get much. And then we even have one of our other customers who I am personally trying to catch up to in terms of boat usage has a long range high field. So high field's 660, 6.6 meters. We did the extended battery pack, so that's 112 kilowatt hours. And he lives in Bristol, Rhode Island, and owns an incredible sailing yacht called Weatherly. It was the 1962 America's Cup winner. He keeps that in Newport, Rhode Island, charters it out, and he bought this Highfield from us, called it Tenderly because the big boat's called Weatherly, and he runs this boat back and forth to Newport and Bristol, which is like it's probably about 30 miles round trip. And he's running that at 20 knots. And his caveat to us, he goes, I want to get back with 30% reserve and not have to charge you on the other side. And he does
Touche.
it every time. The number of miles that this person has racked up on their boat is incredible. And he's an older gentleman, and he's not afraid of anything with this boat. He called me. This was about 2 months ago. Said, "Hey, I'm going to Block Island with Tenderly." I said, "Oh, Steve, that's incredible. That's what, a 40-mile trip, including 12 miles of straight offshore. Are you going to tow it behind your bigger yacht?" And he goes, "No, of course not. I'm just taking Tenderly." He goes, "I know I have the range." I said, I believe you have the range, but this is 12 miles offshore in a 21-foot rib. And he goes, "I can handle anything in this boat." And he did it. 40 miles out there, stayed overnight with his wife, charged overnight, great bed and breakfast, dinner, ran the boat back. Next day, no problems. Our entire engineering team was
It's like a
sitting and
celebration.
watching it. We were watching him on the dashboard, and then we sent some boats out to greet him. But as far as I know, that's got to be the first electric only trip to Block Island and back. But to answer your question, a lot of these boats are really being used, almost every day and racking up hours and racking up hours. And so we're seeing the full spectrum of, boats that don't spend that many hours in the water to boats that just get absolutely abused. And they're all holding up. And they're holding up because we did those 2 years of beta testing because we
That's
learned
huge,
so much
man.
in those years.
Yeah, I talked to some people, we talk about reliability and, I literally have battery recyclers that call us and they're like, "Hey, what do you guys got?" I'm like, "We haven't replaced a high voltage battery, like not one." And like we've upgraded and done retrofits from like lead acid to 48 volt, NMC or LFP stuff. But like otherwise, we're not having high failure rates. The only motors we've replaced have been because of physical damage, like literally,
Mhm.
whether it's a fishing line or impacts. But it's kind of crazy to think about what this is going to look like, but also what it's going to do to the marine sector, in terms of, overhead and boats, that there was an interesting metric at Tesla that we always looked at. And it's like, how many cars can a technician support? And our average compared to national average was always a fraction. And like that coupled with like remote diagnostics and saving service visits based on user error or a quick and easy component replacement that they can do on their own, even if it's a bad charge cable, you can save a trip in. And a lot of times without that remote diagnostic capability, you would be either sending a technician or they'd be bringing their boat to you just to come to find out it was a connection issue or a problem at the marina. The amount of marinas out there with neglected electrical systems is huge. And
Yeah.
I've ran into that before. And I mean, I think I had an X-Shore one time at a marina, and it's like, hey guys, like I'm having issues. I moved slips already. I moved charge cables. Like, what's going on? And they're like, what if you're still on the same charging circuit? And it's like, you know what? Good point. And sure enough, I went like 3 slips down, and sure enough, that one was working.
Fix
But
the
like
problem.
otherwise, I would have either been stranded calling CETO, or it would have been like a service visit for this thing for a conventional customer, and it would have been a huge waste of time. So it's getting that into the boating industry that's exciting, because in terms of efficiency, I mean, it's huge, and that's what allows us to be comfortable. I was on a call literally 4 hours ago with a guy down in Grand Cayman, and we're going to do a service plan for him to give him peace of mind with service visits. And that's because I'm so confident in the propulsion system that I know we're not going to be down there often. Don't get me wrong, nothing's perfect, but when
Mhm.
something does go wrong, we're going to be able to diagnose it remotely. I can get parts in a reasonable timeline, and I can get a technician there for a known cost. And so I can very easily sculpt a service plan around that to where I'm comfortable selling him a Milliken in Grand Cayman. And so it's interesting how that's gonna. I don't know. A lot of people are usually picky about having dealerships right nearby, especially for boats, because stuff always goes wrong. But with our customers, we average less than one visit per year, and I don't have access to that remote telemetry. So there's some people that I'm calling that have Taigas and X-Shores that we've delivered, 2 and 3 years ago, and it's like, hey, you still enjoying the product? They're like, yeah, use it every day. I'm like, okay, like glad to hear it, man. Keep using it. Let us know if you need anything. We're gonna send you a hat so you don't forget about us. But that's it's really interesting to see what happens with that relationship or that dynamic with people needing a dealership right nearby. But I mean, we're selling boats all over the country and the world because of that, and I wouldn't do it otherwise. But with the remote diagnostics and how reliable these damn things are, it's a pretty awesome environment, and it's not like the boat is the headache now. It's not a cuss word. And
No.
it's most of our right now, it's like 55% of our buyers are first time boat owners. I was talking to a manufacturer the other week, and they said, well, common sense is you would do X, Y, and Z. It's like, whoa, you're not allowed to say that. Like, majority of these buyers are first time boat and jet ski owners. Like, there's no common sense rule that applies here. We need this to be idiot proof. And if you tell them no maintenance, they're not going to do a thing, like washing it off. Like, they're not reading that owner's manual. They're not even cracking that thing open. Like, you thought it was bad before. These people really aren't reading anything now.
Yeah.
So
It-
it's funny, we've got a ex-shore in Maryland that we're getting ready to go visit, and we haven't seen him since he had a 12-volt issue in the spring. But I was like,
mm,
hey, you need anything? He's like, no, my zincs are good. Like, see you guys later. Let me know if you're coming in the area next time. And it's like, perfect. That's exactly what we want. But it's building a different business model in terms of the boat dealership side that isn't so heavily weighted on service. But I also need less square footage and less technicians and less special tools. And so it's building a business model around that with overhead not so reliant on service and repairs. And I kind of like it because our customers like us a hell of a lot more when they're not breaking out another thousand.
exactly. Boat not bust out another 1,000 anymore. It,
Right.
it's it's a unique type of ownership, and again, just personally owning one of these boats and using it as often as I do. And I've owned a dozen different boats, everything from sailboats to ski boats to race boats. It's uncanny how simple of an experience it is. I don't need to know when the gas station opens or closes. I
Or
don't
go
need
wait in line for it. I always, I don't know. I haven't recorded it yet, but I've felt bad every time I go by, and it's like the Saturday of 4th of July weekend, and there's a
just
line, and
a
it's
line.
like, ugh.
And then just the simple IoT of knowing how much battery or fuel is in your boat. I mean, when I grew up, we had a family boat we shared with another family, and that's like 10 family members. It's like the number of times you get down to the boat, and it's like, wait, it's a quarter tank and it's 445. I don't have time to get to the gas. I can't even take the boat out. And with the electric, you just literally you just look at your app and what is it at? And because you always just plug it in when you get there, it's like almost always charged. I've
Yeah,
never gone to the boat and be like, "Oh, no, it didn't charge all the way up." It's just like, "Nope, it's exactly what I set it to."
yeah,
The convenience aspect is incredible.
and I think so many people are spoiled by that, depending on their waterway. But then I'll talk to some people, like the Lake Anna event that we do. I'm focusing on that lake in terms of like marketing efforts. There's a big portion of that lake. I mean, it's 5 miles around. Like, you could do some good boating there, but there is no marina fuel on that side of the lake. And so I'm partnering with like the home builders, the dock builders, everybody over there, because we're going to make that side of the lake attractive. because you can have good boating there without dragging gas caddies down to your dock. That's not part of the chore anymore of owning a boat.
No, the better experience, and again, I I couldn't go back after actually using it. And I'm a super user. I use this boat like there's no tomorrow, and it's it's the one of the things that I think keeps me going and excites me about everything we've built is when I'm in the middle of Narragansett Bay or I'm running up to Providence and back, and I'm just doing this in an electric boat, going further than I've ever gone in gas boats, quite frankly, because I'm trying to push the envelope. And it's just the most unique experience. And that's what we all need to do is we need to get more people to experience that because it's incredible.
It's butts and boats, man. And it's funny talking about being spoiled. Like, I didn't come from boating. I tell everybody that, but like, I got my boating license when we started this business. So I didn't grow up washing the boat or flushing the engine. Like, I am absolutely spoiled. And like, I used to be a mechanic at BMW, probably like one of the worst cars to work on, whether it's engineering or reliability. Like, I never recommended it to anybody unless it was in warranty. Like, that'd be a death wish. And it's funny because Brooks worked on them too. Like, he knows how bad they
Yeah,
are.
you can see
Like,
that.
right, you hate someone? Sure, go ahead and buy that BMW out of warranty. Any
No.
German car for that matter. But like, so when it comes to boat maintenance, like I am so spoiled because my family complains about having to wash it. And it's like, guys, we're done with boating, but we need to wash the boat. And it's like, how long is this going to take? It's like, you have no idea how spoiled you are, like oblivious. And bottom cleaning is like the biggest pain for my employees, but also like my family. And it's like such a nuisance. It's like, we're not even touching this powertrain and you guys think this is a big deal. Like, we could never own a gas boat. Like, you guys are so spoiled, it's absurd.
I get the feeling. But hey, that's the future of boating. It's going to be like that. And it's gonna be incredible.
It's That's it, man. It's just better boating. And like, don't get me wrong, if it doesn't fit your application, like, give us a few years. We'll get there. You know, whether it's battery tech or foiling, like, we're going to get there. But for majority of boaters that are doing 10, 20 miles a day, we need to get some like better analytics of this. And I've evaluated 4 different boat clubs so far, and I need to get more of them to give me access. But literally pulling their fleet analytics, and it's like 60% of their boat days are under 10 miles. It's like, cool. Like, majority of these people go to this sandbar, this restaurant, and come home. And it's an 8-hour boat day, and they did 7 miles. But like,
For-
that's what so
yeah,
many people don't realize. And it's like, oh, I can't go offshore 200 miles. It's
you
like,
can't. You
yeah,
can't.
right. Yeah, yeah. And you're also, it's the same guys that are saying, oh, I can't tow my 13,000-pound trailer across the country in the weekend. It's like, yeah, most people aren't doing that though.
Exactly. Yeah. The number of use cases that fit are huge. And I lead off with what it's not good for. And it's not ready for offshore fishing, but for the vast majority of use cases. And, we've got data points from nearly we're getting close to try 10,000 trips. We've got
That's huge.
a lot of data points, and it's 4 miles to 9 miles is what we're seeing is the
And
average.
and it's and it's crazy because that is millions of boaters. So if we only stuck to those that people that stay in the lakes and bay, never touch offshore, never touch those extreme cases, it's like, cool. Our market, our TAM is only a few million boaters. I'm like,
which
okay,
is
I think we're
which is
gonna be all right.
which is quite a few $1 billion. It's worthwhile. It's definitely worthwhile.
Yeah, and it's funny because I was pitching to this group last week, and they're like, "Well, what are you going to do to reach those people, or the guy that wakeboards all day long?" I was like, "You know what? One, like, wakeboarders aren't wakeboarding as much as they think either, and we've got some hybrid wake boats coming out. But also, we don't have to sell to those guys. Like, we have 20 years of scaling and growth before we have to worry about that. Probably 50 years. Like, you look at the automotive market, and right now it's like 2% of all vehicles on the road are electric, 2%, and 10% of new sales. Like, and that took, you could argue, 12 years
Yeah.
conservatively,
Yeah.
13 years when the Model S, Leaf, and Volt were rolling off the lines. And that's the automotive market that's building millions of vehicles. There's a 250,000 boats a year. We have so much room to grow. And I can't wait to look back at this 5, 10 years from now and just laugh at the haters because it's going to be hilarious. And I do it now about the automotive world.
Again, yeah, I was
And
going to say
it's,
again.
yeah, it is. And it's funny because it's like, oh yeah, I talk to people on social media way too much. And it's like, oh, you remind me of my grandpa that told me 13 years ago that electric cars would never work because you can't go 500 miles. And
I've
like,
had these conversations.
Right. And like they were selling Nissan Leafs with 60, 70 miles of range. I had a Ford Focus electric with no fast charging and 60 miles of range, but I had
You're a
charging at
trooper.
home and work. Right. Right. I was also like 200 feet of extension cords at an apartment complex. So like not a good environment, but it worked, you know. It's just going to be so funny to see. And it's the same people that'd be clinging to their horse and buggies and the last ones to let go. And it just going to take butts and boats to get us there, man. These people just need exposure to this stuff. And as expensive as it is, and as much as, you know, I love doing events, but I hate doing them. We can blow through 100 grand in events like so fast. We did 150 grand 2 years ago, and we went up and down the East Coast, and it was super cool. We got, you know, thousands of people on boats. But when someone's seeing something for the very first time, they're not making a purchase. You know, it's like, whoa, okay, this is cool. Now I
And
have
then
a year of due diligence, like
Mhm.
education that comes with it. And so we're doing what we can to shorten that cycle and get as much content out there as possible. But it's just going to take a long time. But it's not going to take a lot. You know, as again pitching to that same group about volume of boats, and if the electric boat market in the U.S. delivers 200 boats next year combined, that's with everybody. Like that will be a big year. You know,
Yeah,
and
I can
that's what
say
people don't realize.
it'll be it'll be a lot more than 200 combined.
Yeah, you think so? I I
Yes.
I can't wait to compare notes, man.
It'll be a lot more than 200 combined, I can assure you that.
I like it. I mean, well, that brings me up, man. Like, what's coming in the future? What can we expect that you can share? Um, yeah, I'm curious. Like, what's coming
Yeah.
for Flux?
New boat partnerships for one. So
Nice.
again, you know, the way we exist, and you know, here's my scout hat. That's what I bought. I bought a 215 Scout Dorado. Boat partnerships is the way to scaling. You know, one boat company is not going to sell 200 boats next year, but I can tell you 20 boat companies will sell 10 boats next year. And so while we have fantastic partnerships right now with high field boats, scout boats, flagship pontoons, high foil, and even within those massive boat brands, you know, we've only electrified like one or two models from each company at a certain price point. So, you know, if I come out next year and say, Eric, here's a fully electric boat that you can get for under 70 grand, it starts to open a door to a lot of things. And so we're working on a few lower price models. We're working on a few higher end things. You know, when we focused on our kind of like 22-foot entry market, we're focused on kind of that, you know, $100,000, $120,000 entry point, which again, with your financing boat, it's very achievable. But, you know, we've seen success now with our tech where, you know, we can do twin motors on larger boats. And so we'll have some much bigger boats, some really nice boats that can go further, and then also just other boat partners. So there will be an exciting announcement at Fort Lauderdale
Cool.
with one of
Having
our
a
new.
party? Did I miss an invite?
The invite's coming. I think we're meeting
Okay.
tomorrow to discuss the
Okay.
invites. But very reputable boat company is launching an electric line of boats with Flux outboards. So we're very excited to be on that. Um, and then just partnerships with everything from growing dealers like you, like Electrified Marina, enabling you to scale, us scaling so we can support you to sell more boats, get more butts and seats, and then other really interesting business development things. And then, you know, just as a tangential to the growing market and with us specifically, you know, we set out to design the best electric boating experience and ended up building an entire technology ecosystem. So, you know, us specifically, we are now delivering powertrain and battery technologies to other companies in other spaces, not just boats, underwater vehicles, aerospace, and stationary energy storage. We are
Whoa.
setting up solutions now where if it's too difficult to get a DC fast charger set up, but you want to have the capability DC fast charge, you know, building stationary microgrids using our existing battery pack technology, connecting our boats to the grid, boat to grid. And
Oh, hold on.
because
All right.
again,
We're gonna extend this like another 10 minutes now because
no,
you're opening more, man.
oh, poor
Hold on.
Brooks, poor Brooks.
So hold on, break this down, man. So someone's got a boathouse. They're on a core lake, or, you know, Army Corps owned. They can't run charging to their dock, but they can't upgrade charging to their dock. You know, whatever it is, or even a marina that doesn't have, you know, extra 3-phase coming in. You guys will put a battery bank out there, call it 4 to 6 packs, and then like trickle charge this thing level 2, and then have fast charging capabilities from those packs.
Exactly. And you saw how simple and elegant our battery pack and power distribution unit is. So we're not talking about some behemoth cabinet. We're talking about literally taking the same battery pack that's completely waterproof, completely corrosion proof, crash proof through 40 Gs, and just maybe putting that in a little box together, and then a couple pieces of power electronics, which we have the team in house to do, and charge up that way. And all of a sudden, this starts growing beyond just boats. This becomes boat to grid. It becomes microgrids. I'm looking at connecting a few of these to my house now that I have solar on my house.
Hold on. All right, back up. Boat to grid. So I haven't seen that announcement from Flux. It's coming soon, next year. Like, what are we talking?
Yeah, I think it's funny the way we've always looked at announcements is we've never done quite much on the announcement side. We've just always been crushing on the technology side.
Execution.
We have so much technology where sometimes I sit back and maybe we should announce that we were at the battery show, not looking at things but selling things at the battery show. Maybe we should announce that we have battery management systems that are like flying in things like large like aircraft.
Dude,
Maybe
you've mentioned like 3 or 4 things in the last 10 minutes that never got a PR release. Like what this is
maybe
crazy.
maybe we should announce that we build super high energy density battery packs for like underwater like ocean bed monitoring vehicles. We are just we are a group that is truly just heads down focused on building sustainable, long lasting tech. And we should probably do more on the PR side. I think we will at some point. But it's just every time, when we see other press releases of like, oh, like testing this integration or doing that, it's like, oh, we started doing that 3 years ago. We didn't even think about a press release. We're just like, this is natural evolution. Like, so the number of technical things going, and it just goes on and on. I mean, I'm just thinking about like some of the like mobile charging setups we've developed, some of the dynamometers that we've like built and sold for other companies because we could do dynamometers and test equipment in house.
Dude, like you just like 6 press releases right there. I think we might be up to 7. Hold on though. You didn't answer the question. So I am finding the one of the best value propositions for these boats is vehicle to grid. And you just compare it to the price of Powerwalls. It's like, hey, a 13 kilowatt Powerwall 3 is like 12 to 15 grand installed, depending on how much your electrician hoses you. But it's like when it comes to that, and now I can sell Taigas. They just had this announcement. Spring is vehicle to grid. It's coming. They've already validated it. Bidirectional charger is the limitation, but you could put a 50 kW bidirectional charger at a marina and have a row of a jet ski rental fleet, and now you've got a microgrid, But the crazy part is what that looks like when you've got a marina full of rental boats. And like I kid you not, I'm meeting with my utility. I just met with my utility company. We've got a ton more meetings to have, but I've got a megawatt of boats and jet skis sitting at the marina right now. That amount of power during a peak critical load time, they had like
is
5 or
valuable.
6 of them last year. Yeah, like
Valuable.
$1,500 for one usage. So it's like, okay, like now there's this other value proposition of battery storage. It's like, hey, you're debating on putting solar on your boathouse and some power walls. It's like, skip the power walls, get the badass electric boat. And you could argue that an 84 kilowatt hour pack is now worth like $100,000, worth of batteries you're going to throw on the wall. And that's not unrealistic. You look at some of these installs, and I've got to work on the entire marketing tactic for this because it's going to be its own ad campaign. And I've never been one for ads, but I have to get it out in front of all, like millions of people for solar. But these people are throwing all this money at Powerwalls, and it's like, why not get a Powerwall you can ride on the water? Whether it's a jet ski or a flux boat or any of these other electric manufacturers that are going to have vehicle to grid, and you skip the natural gas generator that you're going to have at your house and skip the power walls, and now you've got a couple of boats and skis that can power your house. And people don't realize energy consumption; they just never quantify it. And like my Lightning sitting in the driveway can power my house. If I were to like reduce my loads and after a natural disaster, like I'll get a
Over a
week
week.
out of it. Yeah. And that's with a window AC unit, and a fridge. So like that's not even like going to the bare minimum. I could power Wi-Fi in a fridge for 2 to 3 weeks.
Exactly.
And so it's kind of crazy when you start talking about this stuff because that value proposition, and now it's not like, oh, this boat's 20-30% more expensive than a gas. It's like, yeah, it is, but skip the battery bank you were going to bolt to your garage wall. And now you can power your neighborhood. It's a ton of power. So you didn't answer the question though, and I'm going to hold you to this. Like, when are you guys going to unlock this? Is this next year? Is this 2026 vehicle to
Yeah.
grid,
So
or at least vehicle to home?
I've got two things to say to that. I'd say we are in a very similar timeline to anyone who's already put out a press release on it. So that next year you can plug a Flux boat into a home. I'd say the other thing is when you think about Flux Marine in a broader sense right now. Start with outboard motors, full propulsion systems, battery packs, battery management tech, power electronics, boat to grid. What is Flux Marine's mission? It's not just creating the best boat experience anymore. We are literally plugging the ocean into the grid, and we're starting with outboard motors.
That's
So
huge, man. Absolutely huge.
I
Hold
don't
on.
need a press release for that, but you heard it here first. We are plugging the ocean into the
Uh,
grid.
I love it, man. And just to take that to the next level, are all of the existing boats that the boats that I've delivered and sold this year, are those going to be retrofittable? Is there a hardware upgrade that needs to happen? Is it a over-the-air software update?
I'm gonna say to be determined, but very, very likely upgradable.
That's huge, man. That is huge. And that's what everyone always worries about is like, hey, is this product now obsolete for this one off use case? And a lot of times that can be done with software updates, but sometimes there's hardware retrofits. But then there's sometimes where those hardware retrofits are either cost prohibitive or, there's not, the integration isn't there. And that happened. I saw it multiple times with Teslas. It's like, hey, you got this feature, but you couldn't get all of these. But that might have been their priorities down here. But that's going to be huge, man, and that's going to help us sell these boats on another level. I'm literally training solar salesmen on how to use these products, and I can't
You
wait.
should. You should. And to that end too, talking about early features and functionality. That's one thing that Flux Marina we've always focused on. Every Monday morning, we have a team meeting, entire company, and we go over what are the current company priorities.
You
And
do this
this
every week, whole team, the whole company.
every Monday get together. What are the priorities this week? And then, what are we working on global updates? The number one priority every single week is keep existing customers happy and taken care of. And so when it comes and our earliest customers, sure, they quite frankly, they took a risk, right? They bet on a marine electrification startup, and we've seen a lot of companies go bankrupt in this space. So like to begin with, they took a bet. And so we take care of all of our customers. Every customer still has my personal phone number. When advancements come out, we're not upcharging for power increases. We just rolled out across the board. We have the 100 horsepower outboard. We just rolled out across the board an increase to 115 horsepower for all of our customers.
Like
We, we just
12% increase for free.
for free. You're an early customer. We're going to take care of you. We've had situations where we learned that some of the cowlings from 2023 didn't last as long as we'd hoped and would start to warp. I flew someone down to the British Virgin Islands to fix that cowling. Said, you're not going to ever have to deal with that. We're going to take care of this right now. That's not an upgrade. We're taking care of it. So customer support is so important to us. And so when we come out with new features like V2G, I will do everything in my personal power to ensure it is as seamless as possible for existing customers who want that to be able to have it as easily as possible.
Dude,
So taking
I
care
don't
of
even have
customers.
to sell. I don't even have to sell boats anymore. I'm just gonna send people this video. Like, hey, you're interested in a Flux powered boat? Here you go. Like, here's a testimonial. Call me afterwards. Let me know what color you want.
No, you're the guy when it comes to the boats. You use them, you sell them, you see them, and that's why I love what you guys at Electrified Marine are doing. There are so many different sales tactics, so many different tactics to new companies, and people ask me, what's Eric and his team up to? I said, all I know is he is out there teaching people, educating, getting them on boats. No dealer is more dedicated to the electrification space right now than Eric and his team, and they're going to reap massive success from it. It's a long haul. The customer cycle is extremely long, but as we've all seen, it grows and it cascades and it grows and it cascades. And so my team, we are grateful for you and your team. And that's why part of the reason we value this partnership too much and really respect what you guys are doing.
Ah, I love it, man. I appreciate it. I was telling someone last week in an interview, and it's like I try not to like I don't know let my ego get too big because like we are winging it. You know, we're learning a lot of what not to do. I don't consider myself like the expert that knew like has it all dialed in. Like I'd be franchising this by now if I had it all dialed in. But it's like one could argue we are the the biggest catalyst in the electric boat space. Like we're getting more people out on boats than anybody in the country. You know,
Agreed.
with the amount of shows that we do and the amount of butts and boats that we get, it's massive. And I wish that wasn't the case because it'd be a lot easier to lift if we weren't the only one shouting from the rooftops on how awesome these boats were. If every state had an electrified marina or whatever dealer, it's like I would highly recommend it, but that's not going to be the case. It takes people from outside of the industry. I've entertained a dozen conversations about people partnering with us in some way, whether it's XYZ Motorsports powered by Electrified Marina, and all of these conventional dealers. It's a lot of times that conversation stops once they realize where the revenue's coming from and how much of a long play it is. It's people that are outside of the industry thinking about jumping into it. Whether it's the solar guy shutting down his business to jump into boats, or this guy that always wanted to start a boat business, and it's like, hey, this is the way to do it now, and it's a whole different model. Things are changing. We sell to people that aren't boat owners. You're not going to the average boat show and selling boats there. We might sell a little bit there, but if 60% of our buyers aren't prior boat owners, they're not
Mhm.
walking those docks. It is very unconventional and borderline guerrilla marketing that we have to do to get in front of these people because they don't know this stuff exists. So it's an interesting challenge right now, but it's an exciting space to be in, man. And we value what you guys are doing. Love your guys' product. I brag about you all the time. There isn't people. It's a similar story to us. Like there isn't anybody that is crazy enough that has the capital uh to do this. Like it takes balls of steel and a lot of money. And like I don't recommend it to anybody. If you value your quality of life and your work life balance, like don't do it. There's better plays out there. But like if you want to go all in and jump in head first, like come on board.
Absolutely. That's what we're all doing here. And I'm also fortunate to have a team that's doing the same. I mean, the passion from our team, the knowledge, the expertise, the willingness. You can't beat that and you can't buy that. And that's how I know that what we're doing is going to be massively successful because of the team and the people working on it that will stop at nothing until it's done.
Yeah. And I feel we've talked about this before, your talent acquisition. And like you have this funnel of talent from Princeton. It's bullshit because I'm super jealous of it. But like every one of your employees that we've interacted with is like absolutely top notch, like high caliber. And I do a boat show debrief after every event we do, whether it's grassroots event or boat show. And it's what did you think of this person, this person, this person? And that's from every manufacturer we deal with. And whether it's Christian or Alex, Matt, like everybody, it's like the highest of regards. Like, oh, make sure he comes back. It's like, wait, who would you pick? It's like, no, they were all great. It's like, cool. Like that's what we want, man. But it's no, your team has been just top notch, man. I love every event we get to work with you guys, and I learn something each time too. Because I'm not gonna say we know 100% of any product because we represent like 15 products now. So whenever
100% of my product anymore. The software team keeps putting new cool things and Easter eggs in it.
I love it, man. I love it. But keep doing what you're doing, man. Keep up the fight because it's getting exciting. Volume's getting up there, and it's gonna be pretty crazy to see what this looks like a few years from now.
Sure will be. We'll look back on this and we'll do another one of these and we're gonna add some zeros to all those numbers.
I
Well,
love it.
we are coming up on our time, guys, and I feel like we barely scratched the surface of B2G. Maybe we'll come back and talk more about that. Um,
We'll do a follow up at my house. We'll plug my boat into my house.
Absolutely.
Oh, I can't wait.
So Ben, thanks again for joining us. Do you have any social sites or websites or anything you want to share with us and our audience?
Yeah, I would say definitely check out Electrified Marina, see their offerings. And of course fluxmarine.com. You can see our different boat partners, our different packages. We are delivering boats, we're building them on the daily. Reach out to get a sea trial, whether it's through us or through Eric. We'll be at the boat shows, but reach out to us, connect with us on LinkedIn as a company, me personally. We're here, we're happy to answer questions. Communication, education, awareness and customer support is what we're here for. So can't wait for what's next.
Good stuff,
Excellent.
man.
Well, You've been listening to Electrified Marina podcast brought to you by Electrified Marina and electrifiedmarina.com. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please share with your friends and family. Please leave comments, questions, feedback, or potential guests in the comment section on YouTube. And that will help us to reach more people and spread our message. Thank you all for watching and listening.
Thanks, guys.